meeting of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners Board meeting, June 18th, to order. This is a virtual board meeting of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners, and will now come to order, and it's 9:01. Okay, so I got just some quick opening remarks. Due to Governor Greg Abbott's March 13th, 2020 proclamation of a state of disaster affecting all counties in Texas due to coronavirus COVID-19, and the governor's March 16, 2020 suspension of certain provisions of the Texas Open Meetings Act, this meeting will be held by video conference as authorized by the Texas Government Code, Section 551-127. For public participants, please use the raise hand feature in the Zoom to indicate that you wish to speak during public comment. When we reach the public comment item, I will recognize you by name and give you an opportunity to speak. So with that, we'll go ahead and go into roll call. It's going to be kind of confusing sometimes because I can only see the speaker. I do not have the whole group in my screen, so I can only see the speaker. So it's going to be kind of awkward to try to see somebody raise their hand. So please let Dawn know that you're there and that you wish to speak. So with that, I'll call roll call, and that's Miss Dawn.
Mr. Julio Cerda.
Here.
Mr. Ben Friedman.
Here.
Mr. David Garza.
Here.
Mr. Milton Gutierrez.
Here.
Mr. Robbie Jalnos.
Here.
And Mr. Edward Thompson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. So so now we go to item 3, and in item 3 we have the strategic plan and customer service report. Lisa?
Mr. Cerda, good morning, Lisa Hill, Executive Director for the board. This is kind of different, so hello everyone. We worked on our strategic plan and submitted it timely. It will be on our website. It also includes our customer service report. It's got a lot of items in there that we are moving forward on and or will be moving forward on. Of course, everything's directly related to budget right now, but I think it turned out really well, and I appreciate everyone that helped and had input on it. And I'll be happy to answer any questions about it if anyone has any.
Okay. Do board members have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment that I think it's a well-written report, and you know, going through it, it does formulate a nice strategic plan for the agency.
Thank you, Robbie.
Very good. Anybody else? Okay, so it's not an action item, so we'll go to the next item, item 4, and that's public comments. To no more than 3 minutes.
Mr. Cerda, excuse me.
Yes.
We have a guest attorney from the AG's office. If you're interested in doing the tabs 9 and 10, which are 2 SOA cases.
Sure. Let me just get over public comment real quick.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna read up just the protocol that I got. The board is interested to hear what members of the public have to say and encourages their participation. To allow for diversity and viewpoints, the maximum opportunity for public comments as possible, and in the interest of keeping the meeting on schedule, the board will limit comments to 3 minutes per speaker. Per the Open Meetings Act, I am authorized to place limits on the number, frequency, and length of comments.
Okay. First, we have, I can't hear.
I'm sorry. We generally will not answer questions posed during public comment, except possibly, if appropriate and time permitting.
I can't hear it.
See, in response to an inquiry, please use indicate that you wish to speak during the public comment. I will. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, sir. The first one we have is Stanley Breyer.
Okay.
Mr. Breyers?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, first I want to thank the board for for their perseverance in this torture chamber we're going through during this coronavirus program. But in any case, we're here. It's not a good, pleasant way to be conducting our business. I know that. But I do thank the board for what they're doing and what they're trying to do, and I support you with everything that we have, my association. Lisa, I want to thank you for pushing all this through.
Thank you, Stanley.
You've done a good job as far as I can tell with the adverse conditions that you've got to work with. And I want to thank you for what you've done on CE. It's been a trying proposition trying to do some of this stuff online, and our instructors are getting a little more used to it, but our students don't like it much at all. So we would like to thank you for what you've done, and when we can get back to having classroom classes, we certainly want to do that. One of the things I wanted to talk about before y'all sent your budget up was appropriations, and I know that the governor's office is going to be, and the budget board's going to want to be cut our budget, but we're going to have to make a case that we're not costing the state money, we're still making them money, and to the Sunset Commission crawl all over us, but the problem is they keep taking our money. As soon as we get to some point where we can get something accomplished, they come in the back door and take the money out the front door, and we're left holding the bag. But so I wanted to recommend that we do, and that's get a mobile hands-on exam center. And I estimate that it probably costs $750,000 to do that. And I would like to see us put it in the budget. But what I envision is a trailer like they use race car trailers, 50-foot, 55-foot moving vans where they're converted, and we could put our houses in there and all of our hands-on equipment. We would build out slides and pull it down the road with a tractor trailer, and be able to give our examinations around the state and alleviate some of the heartburn that the legislatures have. I don't have a problem with everybody coming to Austin. I think it's a great thing. I enjoyed it when I did it, and I still enjoy coming up to Austin and going through the exam center. And I know that the people that we send up there, and you talk to them, they all appreciate it. And I recognize that they're not coming from El Paso, but from the Houston area, so they have a shorter trip. But I know that when we used to interview the guys from El Paso, they would put 5, 6 guys in a car and come to the exam center, enjoy their trip, talk about their exam coming up, and talk about how well it was if they passed and how rotten it was if they flunked. So, but I would certainly hope that we persevere on what we're doing and push the governor's office and the budget board to keep our funds and continue with the program Lisa's got going, and then get some money for this mobile center. And I know y'all, you know, 30, 40 years ago, we built a mobile trailer to take the cross connection exhibit all over the state. And we spent $20,000 on that at that time, and people thought we were nuts. Now we have 2 of them. So it wasn't a bad idea. And maybe this is a good idea that we can get done. But I also want to comment that as soon as we can get out of Zoom meetings and get back to our classrooms, we're going to be much better off. And I talked to my daughters. I have 3 daughters teaching school, and none of them like the Zoom meetings. They all be glad when they get back to their classrooms. And that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for what you do. And it's time to get ready for another hunting season. So, see you later.
Thank you, Stanley. Do we have anybody else?
Yes, sir. We also have Mr. Bobby Duran.
Okay, Mr. Duran.
I'm just going to be here for anything that you need. I'm good. Everything's good. Appreciate y'all having this. I enjoyed it. We have an RMP class today, and guess what we're watching? This is part of our RMP training today. So
Good.
and we're all excited about what's happening. And yeah, I agree with Stanley 100% with everything. We'll see what we can work with so we can make sure we continue this agency. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Duran. Anybody else?
Yes, sir. We have Miss Jennifer Rodriguez. Miss Rodriguez?
Yeah, I'm just here. No comment.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else, Ms. Tom?
Yes, we have a few more. Miss Mary Conger? Miss Conger? Miss Conger, you're muted still.
Oh, sorry. This is actually Emily Conger. I don't know why I'm on my mother's. She just wanted me to let everyone know that we have been having the online courses, and that a lot of our students really enjoyed them. Really enjoyed being able to do it from home. And so she just wanted me to let y'all know that.
Okay, Ms. Conger, this is Mary Conger or?
This is Emily Conger. For some
Emily.
reason, it joined as Mary. Sorry. She's in a different meeting today, so she wanted me to let y'all know. Sorry about that.
So just in case, for the record, it's Emily Conger instead of Mary Conger on the line.
Yes. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Okay, Miss Dawn, do you have any?
Yes, we have a few more. We have Michael Strattenberger.
Okay, Mr. Strattenberger.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I just appreciate that I'm able to come and join your meeting from where I'm at. It's a long drive otherwise, so I just want to say I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Next.
Okay, we have Paula. There's no last name.
Miss Paula? Ms. Paula, when you come on, can you please state your name? And Ms. Paula? Okay, Don, can we come back with Ms. Paula after?
Yes. We have Mr. Rick Lord.
Mr. Rick Lord? Go ahead.
Hi, Chairman. We've had several apprentices, with all the chaos, that were scheduled in the last few months. And a lot of them are not being told that they've been rescheduled. And so it's kind of creating a little confusion on when they should start taking their test again. I didn't know if the board was going to be able to get that out to them, to at least let them know what direction they need to go in. We've had, they've done the 5 years, they're prepared, they're ready to do it. And, they just kind of felt like they're kind of being hung out there right now. So I know it's crazy times, but anyway, just hopefully get some answers today.
Okay, very good. Ms. Dawn, next.
Yes. Next, we have Miss Sarah Rayburn.
Ms. Rayburn?
Sarah. I'm here for resource only. Thanks for all you do. We're happy to be here online with you.
Thank you, Ms. Rayburn. Ms. Dawn, next.
Okay. We have Tony Dixon. Mr. Dixon?
Dixon?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hey, I'm just viewing. I don't have a question. I just appreciate the invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. This is a first for all, so thank you for joining us. Okay, Ms. Dawn.
Next, we have Tyler Scholes.
No comment, just here to observe.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Welcome.
Thank you.
Next, Ms. Dawn.
We have Vincent Trevino.
Mr. Trevino, go ahead.
He did a chat, but no comment.
Yeah.
Mr. Trevino went ahead and stated a no comment. So thank you, Mr. Trevino, for joining us. Ms. Dawn, next.
That is all I have at this time.
Can we Can we go back and see if Ms. Paula is there?
Yes. Paula?
Dawn, that's Paula Worthy. She said she's resource only.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so for the record, Ms. Paula Worthy was resource only. Well, I do also want to welcome Mr. Bobby Duran's class. I think we got some students there. Welcome, guys. Okay,
This is a first.
So yes, that was nice. That is nice. Okay, so we're done with public comment. And now Chairman would like to jump to item 5. 5H. Okay. And on 5H, we got the SOA proposals for decision regarding applicants for licensure with past criminal history. We got item 1. So let me just read out. We'll call out on Assistant Attorney Cole Hutchinson to present argument for a maximum of 5 minutes. Mr. Blount, is he there?
No, sir, he's not. He's not in the lineup.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and have, if he was here, I'll go ahead and just read it out just in case. Mr. Blount has a argument for a maximum of 5 minutes. If Mr. Blount is present and has concluded his presentation, he will then call on Attorney Hutchinson to present a 3-minute rebuttal. So can we go ahead and start, Mr. Hutchinson?
Morning. Thanks for having me. My name is Cole Hutchison, and I represented the board in Roniel Blunt, the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners, in front of SOA. The case started an appeal of Mr. Blunt's application to register as a plumber's apprentice, an appeal of that denial by the board. The board denied his application based on his criminal history. On January 22nd, 2020, ALJ Stephanie Frazzi heard arguments from myself representing the board and Mr. Blunt. She agreed with the board and also recommended the denial of his application based on his criminal history. I'm here to recommend that the board adopt that PFD as written. Her PFD noted the following evidence that was presented at the SOA hearing. Mr. Steve Davis was there on behalf of the board and the enforcement committee. Mr. Davis testified that Mr. Blunt had multiple convictions, the most serious of which was first-degree aggravated sexual assault. It occurred in 2007, and Mr. Blunt was 17 at the time. The victim was a child of 10 years old. He was placed on deferred adjudication and placed under 10 years of community supervision. However, in 2009, he violated that community supervision agreement and was adjudicated guilty of aggravated sexual assault of a child. He was sentenced to 10 years confinement. The specific terms that he violated were that he resided in a household with a child younger than 18 without written previous consent. And he also failed to pay fees and complete his community service. That violation also resulted in a third-degree felony for failure to comply with the sex offender duty to register. He was given 2 years confinement for that. In 2014, he was released from incarceration, and in 2017, he was released from parole. As a sex offender, Mr. Blunt was required to present the board, along with his application, the sex offender treatment evaluation. That form, as you know, it determines the likelihood he's going to reoffend. The ALJ found that Mr. Blunt did not submit that form to the board, and even though he reasonably believed his psychotherapist would provide it when provide the form to the board, as the ALJ determined, the ALJ found that the board notified him 3 separate times with deficiency letters that the form was needed, and it was never submitted. The ALJ determined that the aggravated sexual assault offense placed him in the highest level of risk, level 1, as that offense relates directly to the occupation of a plumber, because plumbers routinely enter homes, businesses, daycares, schools, and also encounter customers. Although Mr. Blunt claimed he completed all required sex offender treatment programs and evaluations, the ALJ found he provided no details about what programs he completed or past evaluations. Mr. Blunt did submit some letters of recommendation, and although the ALJ found them positive, they did not show the familiarity with the details of his criminal history. As Mr. Blunt was placed in the highest level of risk, level 1, the ALJ found that Mr. Blunt did not show that he is currently fit for registration as a plumber's apprentice, and agreed that that his application should be denied based on that criminal history. I recommend that the board adopt the proposal for decision as written. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. I'll give it one more try. Mr. Blunt, is he available? Don?
Let me check. No, sir, he's not here.
Okay. All right. Mr. Blunt, by all means, he did have the opportunity to be here with us to give his 5-minute argument. Do I hear a motion to adopt the proposal for decision in the Blunt SOA case, including authorization for the board chair to sign an order on behalf of the board?
Mr. Chairman, Ed Thompson, I propose we accept the proposal as written and deny.
Do I hear a second?
Milton Gutierrez, second.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Milton Gutierrez, second.
Okay, so we got a motion by Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Gutierrez. Any discussion?
I just have, Mr. Chairman, if I can jump in, one of the other things that you all have to make a motion on is to authorize the board chair to sign the order on behalf of the board. So if Mr. Thompson just wants to tack that onto his motion, and then we can have another call for a second.
Okay, so when I read this,
I recant my motion and state the motion as accepting the LJ's recommendation, also adding to the fact of having the chairman to sign off on behalf of the entire board.
Okay.
And I'll second that. Milton Gutierrez.
Okay, thank you. So we got a motion and a second on adopting the proposal for decision in the Blunt case, and include authorization to the chair to sign it on behalf of the board. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye and state your name.
Aye. Milton Gutierrez.
Aye, Robbie Jalmus.
Aye, Ben Friedman.
Aye, Ed Thompson.
Aye, Anthony Garza.
All those against?
Milton got to go.
Aye, Milton Gutierrez.
All those against? And that was an aye, Milton.
Yes.
Okay. All those against? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously. Okay. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Just for the sake, I do have, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, something with your positioning of that you're breaking up. I don't know if it's your computer or not. Okay. When you're talking, it's breaking up. So you might want to keep the same angle when you're speaking because you're breaking up.
Okay. So just, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Your video's off too, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me?
Your video is off too.
I see on my mind.
I still have him on mine. It's just when a certain angle this and that is muffling. So I just need him.
Oh, gotcha. There you are. Okay.
Yeah.
Never mind. Thanks.
Ms. Lena, I just want to make sure that whatever is stated by me is clear, just in case I get cut off. It concerns me. Some parts are going to be not clear from my end. Can you go ahead and just let me know?
Sure.
Okay. So next item we'll go, let me go ahead and read a protocol that I got to read up on item 5H. And since it's out of order, at this meeting, we will consider cases that have been heard by the state of office and administrative hearing. Prior to this meeting, the board members have reviewed information related to these cases, including the administrative law judge's proposal for decision. Each party to the SOA proceeding will be given 5 minutes to present his case and argument. is limited to only the matters considered by the administrative law judge. This means that the applicants may not bring up any new evidence, including statements from anyone who didn't testify at the hearing or new information concerning your criminal history or rehabilitation. The board counsel will be off for 3 minutes for each case. After the presentations, the board members may ask questions, but they're limited to the administrative record. Okay, so with that, we'll go to the next case, Mr. Hutchinson, and that would be Michael Strettenberger.
Yes,
and the argument, again, it will be 5 minutes. Is Mr. Strettenberger here?
We do have Michael Strattenberger here. Mr. Strattenberger?
Mr. Strattenberger?
He's still on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, very good. So after Assistant Attorney Cole Hutchinson presents, Mr. Strattenberger, you will have 5 minutes, maximum 5 minutes to present your argument. And then after you have concluded your argument, Mr. Hutchinson will have a 3-minute rebuttal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Hutchinson, go ahead.
Michael E. Strattenberger v. Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners pertains to Mr. Strattenberger's application for registration as a plumber's apprentice. The board denied this application based on his criminal history and the time that has elapsed since his release from incarceration. On January 23rd, 2020, ALJ Christian Ciano heard arguments for myself, representing the board, and for Mr. Strattenberger. Notice of hearing was mailed as required by law. On March 19th, the ALJ issued his proposal for a decision recommending the denial of Mr. Strattenberger's application based on his criminal history. And I'd like to recommend that the board adopt that PFD as written. The following evidence was presented at the SOA hearing. On behalf of the board, their enforcement committee, Steve Davis, testified that Mr. Strattenberger had multiple convictions that were considered, 2 misdemeanor convictions, theft of movable property and obstruction of legal process in 2003 and 2004, respectively. But the most serious offenses occurred in 2006. They are a second-degree felony conviction for attempted murder. There were 2 counts of that. A first-degree felony conviction for assault, great bodily harm, 2 counts of that as well, and a first-degree felony conviction for burglary. Mr. Strattenberger testified at the hearing that these convictions all occurred in one night, when after a night of drinking, he entered his girlfriend's residence, discovered her with another man, assaulted them, and stabbed them both multiple times. He was sentenced to 207 months in prison and was ultimately released in March of 2018. He is still currently on parole until December 9th, 2023. The ALJ found that offenses involving murder, burglary, theft, and assault directly relate to the duties and responsibilities of a plumber's apprentice, and that Mr. Strattenberger's offenses, which include 3 first-degree felonies and assault, attempted murder, and burglary, place him within the highest level of risk category, which is level 1. Mr. Davis testified that there were concerns among the board's enforcement committee that the registration would give Mr. Strattenberger an opportunity to reoffend as conflicts routinely arise on the job. And plumber apprentices are not subject to direct line of sight supervision. The ALJ agreed with him that a plumber's registration as a plumber's apprentice would give Mr. Strattenberger an opportunity to reoffend. Mr. Strottenberger did submit 2 letters of recommendation, one from his current employer, where he was only at for 8 months at the time of the letter, and one from the National Adult Education Society. The ALJ found that the letters of recommendation only cover 8 months total of contact. Multiple certificates were submitted by Mr. Strottenberger. They include a substance abuse counseling certificate, a certificate of attendance as a GED tutor, and a transitional aftercare program certificate. However, Mr. Strottenberger stated that he had not taken any anger management classes since his release in March of 2018. Mr. Davis testified that given the severity of his crimes, more time out of incarceration and more letters of reference are needed to see the required rehabilitative efforts. The ALJ agreed with that point, finding that although Mr. Strottenberger is in compliance with this parole and made significant rehabilitative efforts while incarcerated, he needs to demonstrate more meaningful rehabilitation given the seriousness of his crime, and that it's too recent. Too little time has passed since his release of incarceration to show that rehabilitation. So the ALJ concluded that although he's making positive changes, he's not fit at this time to perform the duties to discharge the responsibilities of a plumber's apprentice. And that's why the ALJ ultimately concluded that Mr. Strottenberger's application for registration as a plumber's apprentice should be denied. And I recommend that the board adopt this proposal for a decision as written. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hutchinson. Okay, Mr. Strottenberger, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. I appreciate the board hearing me. I can't deny the charges that I've had in my past. Like I told the judge, all I can do is change what I do in the future. I've been on parole for over 2 years now. I'm not sure how long it takes for for the board to recognize that I'm not a danger to society anymore, considering that both the state of Minnesota, in which these events happened in, and the state of Texas feel that I'm not a danger to society, being that I'm in society, and the fact that I've been on parole for 2 years and not had any issues. I do believe that there was a letter from my parole officer that Mr. Hutchinson did not mention, said that I am in compliance with all of my parole rules and regulations. I just ask that given the time that I've had out, the fact that these charges happened back in 2006, over a decade ago, and when I was 27, I believe it was the last charge, and now that I'm 41 years old, that I'm more in control of my anger issues than I was when I was a child, or a 27-year-old, I should say. I just appreciate the fact that I'm able to speak on my behalf, and I would hope that the board sees that I have been making changes in my life, and that they consider the fact that I've been on. I work for a mechanical and plumbing company right now, and the fact that I'm on the mechanical side doing sheet metal work, they just want me to be cross-trained. I have been on the job sites of all of the plumbers that I work with, and I haven't broken any laws, rules, and I have been maintaining gainful employment. So I just strongly would ask that the board consider that, my current situation and not well, I would say consider my past, but at the same time, I would hope they consider that, you know, I have changed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sternberger. Rebuttal from Mr. Hutchinson.
Yes, I did there was an oversight. I did forget to mention the letter from his parole officer, but that only covered a year since he had been released from incarceration. And again, I just wanted to emphasize that the ALJ did find that Mr. Strautenberger is making positive changes in his life. But given that he still hasn't, or as of the date of the hearing, hadn't taken any anger management classes, and that he was only released in March of 2018, he's not fit at this time to perform the duties to discharge the responsibilities of a plumber's apprentice. And that's why he ultimately recommended that the application should be denied. Thank you.
Okay. At this time, does the board have any questions before before I ask for a motion?
I have a question, Davina. Can I ask him the plaintiff something directly, mainly about why he hadn't took anger classes and why he doesn't have more people vouching for his current state of activities? Is that?
Mr. Thompson, that may get us outside of the administrative record. We can only consider what was developed at the case and the evidence that's outlined in the proposal for a decision. I think some of those questions would elicit information outside of the administrative record.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I make a motion that this board accept the decision of the administrative law judge that the board deny the application at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Can we go ahead and add to that motion to include the authorization for the board chair to sign the order on behalf of the board?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the motion, just to be clear, the motion is to adopt the proposal for decision in the Strattenberg SOA case, including the authorization for the board chair to sign the order on behalf of the board. So we have a motion. I need a second.
Robbie Jalna seconds.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Look like Ben had his hand up for a minute.
I was just going to actually second, but no, I've got nothing to say.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. David Garza, aye.
Okay.
Ben Friedman, aye.
Okay.
Milton Gutierrez, aye.
Okay.
Ed Thompson, aye.
Okay.
Robbie Jalna, aye.
Okay. All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, next we go to strategic plan.
Before you go on to the next one, let me ask Vina one more thing. After every motion, do we need to state that we authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the board? We need to do that after each. You on mute, Vina. She's still on mute. Mute.
I am so sorry. So, Mr. Thompson, when Mr. Serta calls a motion, he will state the language for the proposed motion. So the person who is actually making the motion can simply say so moved.
So moved. Okay.
And that should capture everything, including authorization for the chairman to sign the order. And on a lot of these, the chairman will have to have authorization to sign the order.
Okay. I didn't want him to have to keep going back and correcting.
No problem.
Okay, guys, just for the record, there's two of me for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
All right, we love them both.
All right. Okay, so next, next we jump to item 5, and that's the Enforcement Committee Activity Report. Ms. Hill?
Mute.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, because I've got a fairly lengthy list here, and with your permission, I'll move right through Section 5 of the Enforcement Committee activities. And I'll start with tab 2, and that is the number of complaints reviewed. We had 184 complaints that were reviewed. There were 72 administrative penalties issued during the quarter. That quarter was December to February, the length of time, and this brings us up to date, so to speak. During that period of time, on tab 3, that was tab 2, and if you want to turn over to tab 3, we also reviewed multiple applications similar to the ones you just heard. There were three meetings in that, and we reviewed 120 different applications, had a variety of situations that were reviewed. 63 of those were able to be approved. And out of those, there were 8, unfortunately, that were denied or revoked. And in most cases, those were found to be individuals that had been incarcerated. So they're going to reapply, and we'll probably see them in the near future. The number of applications that were denied, those were 3, and they'll have an opportunity for a hearing and or to wait a little bit longer and come back, and we'll see how those go as well. In addition, on tab 4, you'll see a complete list, a summary of all the cases that are pending right now, and you'll notice out to the side of it, there's some updates. Some are pending a payment plan or have made agreements. And we also have some that are over at SOA, and several are most likely going to end up in some kind of default. So you'll see those sometime in the near future. The next item that you have is on tab 5. Those are individuals that the Enforcement Committee chose to approve. This one does require a motion. The previous items are just for report purposes, but this particular item under tab 5, this lists the individuals that have been back to the Enforcement Committee and submitted enough information to the Enforcement Committee that the Enforcement Committee is comfortable with their approval. And in this case, we have and I don't want to butcher his last name, but Steve, you might want to say his name, Christopher Broloff for a journeyman examination, Jacob Horton for an apprentice registration, Ramiro Lerma for an apprentice registration, and we also have Michael Lindsay for an apprentice registration, Noah Pena for apprentice registration, Raul L. Rodriguez for journeyman exam, and Ryan Lee Young for an apprentice registration. And as I mentioned earlier, those individuals have submitted enough information that we feel like that they have done the rehabilitation. They are, in most cases, employed by an individual that is also supportive of them, and they could be approved to basically re-enter or continue their career in plumbing. And I'll answer any questions if you would like.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Do I hear a motion to approve the schedule of applications for approval after revocation, including approval of the applications listed in the schedule and including authorization for the board chair to sign the schedule on behalf of the board?
Then Friedman, I'll make a motion.
I got a motion. Can I
David
get
Garza, second.
So I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Ed Thompson.
Aye. Milton Gutierrez.
Aye. Ben Friedman.
Aye. Robbie Jonas.
All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so next, Ms. Lisa, discuss the cease and desist orders.
Yes, sir. Next item is under your tab 6, which is the summary of cease and desist orders. And these cases in particular are individuals that have been involved in a complaint and an investigation has been performed. And our first and quickest response, in addition to possibly some other type of penalty, would be to issue them a cease and desist. These have been issued. I actually sign these orders and we get them out as quick as we can. And in most cases, there's other actions that have taken place, and in the future, should the individual violate again, then we'll fall back to an order where we have asked them to cease and desist. So, and looking down your agenda, there's 20 different individuals. I'll be happy to read them if you'd like. Otherwise, I would reference the agenda and their names. And that does not require a motion. It's simply reporting of some of the activities that we've had. Tab numbers, and does anyone have any questions about that? And To be happy to move on to tab 7.
Yes, Lisa, is all these individuals currently up to date and did everything that they needed to do to satisfy, the agency's requirements?
In most cases, everyone has complied with the cease and desist that we've asked them to do. If not, then Steve will be reaching out to them at a later period of time. But as of right now, we've been able to get their attention and stop whatever the violation was.
Okay, and none of these are some of our repeat offenders been on our repeat list, are they?
Not on the cease and desist. When we move to the administrative penalties that are paid by agreement under the next tab,
yes,
I also included on the next one. If you'd like for me, I'll go ahead and talk about that one. The board order of administrative penalties under tab 7. Those individuals have had some type of penalty. There's quite a few on there. They've agreed to pay, and in most cases they've paid, and you'll see the notation there on the order. And that order I actually signed for the enforcement committee too, but we will need a motion on it. And at the very last page of that order contains those individuals that have had a previous violation.
Okay, so at this time on item 5E, there's no motion required for the cease and desist orders. On item F, and that was what Lisa was just talking about, it's on tab 7. We have a copy on tab 7 as far as all the so go ahead.
Ed Thompson, I make a motion to accept the administrative penalties as agreed and so moved.
Okay, so I got a motion to adopt the board order of administrative penalties paid by agreement.
David Garza, second.
So I got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye, Ed Thompson.
Ben Friedman, aye.
Robbie
Milton
Jonas,
Gutierrez.
aye.
Milton Gutierrez, aye.
Okay.
Ben Friedman, aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, if I can just jump in, we'll need a motion to allow Lisa to sign the one for the enforcement committee.
Okay. So
you can just say, is there authorization for Lisa to sign this?
motion to have Lisa sign the enforcement committee.
Wait.
I heard a
Someone
motion.
say so moved.
So move.
Do I get a second?
Second, Robbie Thomas.
I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Ed Thomas.
Aye, Milton Gutierrez.
Aye, Robbie Thomas.
Aye, David Garza.
All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so now we move to item G, and this is the agreed final orders.
Sir? This agreed final order under G, which is in your tab 8. This individual has a lengthy history with the board. However, we've came to some conclusion, and so I'm going to let Steve Davis tell the history on it, since he's worked with Mr. McCullum to get this agreed final order put together. But ultimately, the decision is up to y'all. And if I'll defer to Steve on that particular item, if that's okay with you.
Lisa, let me ask you this for Mr. Davis come on. Isn't he a repeat?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
He does
Davis.
have a lengthy history, and for the most part, we have explained the history, so to speak, within the agreed final order, for which he has already signed, pending acceptance by the board.
Okay, thank you.
This is a case of multiple violations that happened, and the time back, actually, even when I was a field investigator, a lot of these cases came to be in a lot of it in 2006 and 7. At a point in time when Mr. McCullum was self-employed, he was having a lot of issues. Again, I was a field investigator in many of them, and as time went by, Mr. McCullum just basically left the trade. He got away. He was doing other things, contracting, what have you, general contracting, as he may have put it. He did call periodically. He's never tried to evade the issue as far as he was having, what problems he was having at the time, and why a lot of the issues, these were had to do with, some of them were, of course, evading responsibility and things like that. Some had to do with not providing insurance. His insurance had expired during some of the times, and they overlapped. We had gotten calls again through the years. I think even when we had our attorney, maybe it was Helen, she was trying to work something up because he did want to return to the trade, and he was trying to put money together to be able to pay off some past penalties that he had. So that didn't work out. I don't know what the story was behind that, but then he contacted me probably about a year ago, and we started discussing things that he could do to maybe at least present agreed final order to the board and see if we couldn't maybe get the situation resolved. Again, they're old cases. We'd like to, I think we have an opportunity here to at least solve these or get these to rest. Basically, we got an opportunity to actually get restitution back to 2 individuals, which I think is a positive thing. And we're also able to collect a substantial amount of these other cases that I believe is going to be a deterrent for any future issues that may develop. I think Mr. McCullum understands that this is a one-time offer, and if it happens again, there will not be any other offer. But I just, as we started putting this together, everything seemed to be a positive way to go, although we don't know what the future will hold. None of us do. I think we can deal with any future issues that may arise, again, in a positive way for the plumbing industry.
Ms. Davis, you had direct contact with, with Mr. Michael here. What do you think that he's ready to come full circle and do the right thing? And I mean, we always want positive people in the field, and it's a big effort to want to come back and take care of past problems. I see that as a good sign, but I wanted to get your take since you had the interaction with the gentleman.
I've never had any negative feedback from Mr. McCollum through all. In fact, he'd actually been before Enforcement Committee when I was still a field investigator, going over these issues. Again, after all this took place, as far as the previous complaints and cases that we had, he did go away. I think most of it had to do with lack of funds, but now he's in an opportunity where he'd like to come back. He'd like to get his master's back, although he admittedly was a poor businessman. I believe now that at least allowing him to get a journeyman license, and then if he does decide to get a master at a later time, watch him closely. To say he's not going to reoffend, of course we're not going to be able to say that.
Oh yeah.
But again, for the fact of the amount of money that we actually will be collecting for the state, and the amount of money, at least we'll get back some restitution for a couple of individuals that we were able to contact.
Okay.
And I did talk to those two individuals, and they were definitely surprised that this was a possibility. And I did tell them it was a possibility just based upon final decision by the board.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dave.
Anybody else has any questions?
I do. It's Robbie Jonas. Ms. Davis, he's got a lot of fines here. They really total up to a big number. What's the probability of collecting those fines?
He's ready to write a check. And that's what he told me. So that's all I can tell you. He says he has the money. No, I know for sure he's got 10,000 ready to go. If we have to set him up on a payment plan, he's been told he cannot apply or take an exam until we get 100% of the final amount.
Okay, yeah, because it's a big number. So all right, if there's a probability, or he says he has the money, we could hold him back until he pays all $16,000 back.
And I believe that is in the agreed final order.
Okay, so what we have on the agreed final order, we have on or before August 31st. Is that, are we still looking at August 31st, or has he finished his payment of the full 16,000?
That is what he's agreed to.
Okay.
If you wanted to, allow anything different, then that would be up to the board. If you want to allow it, if he couldn't make it, to do a payment agreement, or if you just agree to the. I mean, again, he has agreed to that date and that amount. So,
Vina, just.
And Mr. Chairman, if he can't take the test, he can't advance any further until the money is paid. So,
okay,
I see that as a positive.
Vina, should we change the language on the final order on number 12 that says August 31st, 2020, just in case, or since he's agreed to that date, that we're okay with that, right?
I mean, it really depends on what Steve has to say, because he's had discussions with Mr. McCullough. Mr. McCullum. And
Well,
he seems.
I just don't want to go past the August 31st date that we're set on this final order, and then for some reason, I don't know the legalities on it, but
well, he agreed
make
to
sure
it,
once we
Mr.
set that date, that's it.
Yeah, he agreed to it, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, he should know what he could do and not do.
Okay.
At the time that I talked to him again, he did say that he had 10,000 available and he felt he could borrow the rest to pay off the balance. So.
And Mr. Chairman, if he doesn't pay, he can't advance in his career in the plumbing profession.
Right.
Okay.
And in addition, I was just going to, normally, I mean, Steve will get very clear proof too that he's submitted his restitution back to the two individuals. Is it 2 or 3, Steve?
2.
2 that are going to get their restitution and take care of their situations, the consumers. So.
Okay. Any other questions for staff? All right, we'll hear none. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agreed final order, including the authorization for the board chair to sign the order on behalf of the board?
So moved, Milton Gutierrez.
Do I hear a second?
Second, Ed Thompson.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Now, Lisa, Vina, I got a question on the copy that I have here on the final order. It has all the members of the board basically signing on there.
So we can modify that to take out the other names, Mr. Serda.
That's fine.
It was amended and returned back to you with his signature on it and just Mr. Serda's.
Very good. Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Did we need ask Vina, do we need to so move so you can sign?
I think that was part of the motion that Mr. Serda called. So someone just said so moved. So
okay.
We just need a second and a final vote.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a second already, I believe. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second.
Question.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Ben.
Okay. What's the gentleman's current status? Is he an apprentice license? Is he a registered apprentice?
No, not yet.
He's nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
Now let's see. I do believe he did apply for an apprentice registration now. I don't believe that he's got that processed yet.
I assume that wouldn't get processed until he's made restitution to his 3 customers and all the money to us.
The apprentice registration, I don't think we could hold up.
Okay.
If he meets the requirements. Now, as far as any licensure, the journeyman master, yes, nothing would clear according to that agreement until he made restitution and final payment to the board.
Seems to me a money order would be more appropriate than the response check.
I agree.
Okay.
Typically, it would be a cashier's check for that large of amount.
That large.
Yeah. That's what I meant. You know.
There will be a
Checks in
delay
the mail,
in between.
heard that before.
Oh yeah.
There would be a delay in between receipt of payment and releasing of his ability to take an exam.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye, Milton Gutierrez.
Aye, Ben Friedman.
Aye, Ed Thompson.
Aye, Bobby Jones.
Aye, David Garza.
All those against? Motion carries unanimously. Okay.
Okay.
J, as we already discussed item 5I. And item J is the default final orders pursuant to section 1301(704) of the plumbing and license law. And Ms. Lisa?
Yes, sir. These are default final orders. The individuals have had an opportunity to make an agreement, follow through with an agreement, have not responded. They've been notified multiple times. And in addition, they were all recently notified that these cases would go to a default order, basically firming up their guilt, so to speak. And we've heard from 2 of them in this last week. So I want to note that number 4, which is Christopher Cox, and number 21, Dustin Mayers, those have been removed from the final order that Mr. Serta will ultimately sign if so agreed. And the remaining individuals, which we started out with, want to make sure I had 36. We've got 34 total now, and they're referenced in alphabetical order on the agenda. And we will proceed with notifying them that the final order is now in default and done after this meeting, if that is the case. So,
Mr. Chairman, if I can just jump in here. When you call the motion, you can say, with the exception of Cox and Mayers, do I hear a motion to adopt the default final order for the individuals listed in 5J1, including authorization for the board chair to sign all documents on behalf of the board? So you can just tack on with the exception of Cox and Mayers.
Any questions to staff? Do I hear a motion to adopt the default final orders for the individuals listed in 5J1, I'm sorry, 5I, including, with the exception of Mr. Christopher Cox, number 4, and Mr. Dustin Mayers, number 21.
David Garza, so move.
And that would, thank you, Dave. That would be including authorization for the board chair to sign all documents on behalf of the board. So I have a motion from Mr. Garza.
Second, Robbie Jamas.
I got a second from Robbie. And I just want to make sure for Vina, this is a list that the public already has, right?
Yes, sir. It's on the agenda.
Okay, very good. Very good. Okay, so I got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Ed Thompson, aye.
Robbie Jamas, aye.
Milton Gutierrez, aye.
All those against? Did you guys hear me? I only got three votes.
Ben's still on mute. Still on mute.
Sorry,
Garza,
sorry.
aye.
Ben Friedman, aye.
Okay, that was for the for 4, right? Not opposed. For the motion. Okay.
Correct.
So any against? Hearing none. All those motion carries unanimously. So now we jump to item 5J deuce, which would be tab 11. And that's a board schedule of default final orders adopted pursuant to 1301-704 of the plumbing license law.
that's the final schedule containing the final orders that we just discussed.
Okay. Like 1 minute to review. Do I hear a motion to adopt the board schedule of default final orders on item 5J2 and adopt the board orders listed therein, including authorization for the board chair to sign all documents on behalf of the board?
Ed Thompson, so move.
Got a motion? Do I hear a second?
David Garza, second.
I got a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Isn't this the motion? Isn't this the document that we just voted on?
No, we voted on,
Actually, the individual orders, and there's individual orders that must be sent out that the board, that Julio and Mr. Serta normally signs. There's also the schedule that we put together there that has all of them included for ease. basically.
Thank you. I got that.
Any other discussion?
Ben Friedman. I would just like to point out here for the public's benefit, there are masters, journeymen, apprentices, and no license at all that are in this final order. So I just want to, acknowledge the board for acknowledging that these guys are being recognized for what they're doing out there and being fine. So I think that's a good thing.
Mr. Serta,
Thank
can
you.
I add one more thing to that?
Sure.
Being that's a good point. And the other thing that all these individuals that are on this default order that have been notified that this is coming down to a final point, at some point they will also have holds put on them, and should they win the lotto, then they won't get their lotto money. Or if they were to get a contract with the state, they won't be able to receive their payment, those sort of things. So they'll actually have what we call a warrant hold placed on them.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, say aye.
Ed Thompson, aye.
Robbie Diamas, aye.
Milton
David
Gutierrez,
Garza,
aye.
aye. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Ben Friedman, aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so next we jump to the Rules Committee report, and that's a discussion and possible amendments to the Texas Administrative Code Title 22, Part 17, Chapter 365. And that's the license and registration. Okay, I'll defer to Ms. Lisa and Robbie for the meeting with the education providers.
Well, right, currently we haven't been able to meet with them because of COVID. And hopefully we'll have to figure out some way to do that training. Since we're doing things differently and none of the things that we're doing are in the board rules, we thought that we may add some addendums to cover virtual classes and things like that. I did take my continuing education in a virtual class, and I'm for one said I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I was sitting at my house and listened and participated in the discussion for the 6 hours. Actually got to walk around the room, get some exercise and stuff like that. So I was in favor of something like that, and that's going to be some of the language that we're going to be working on. Another thing that I'd love to have some public opinion on this, and that's going to a calendar year, January to December. 365.14's got it, year starts July 1st, ends here, there, whatever. And then there's a whole table that talks about if your license expires here, then you need to be there. It eliminates all that. And so a couple things have to happen. One, the comments are favorable when we go to the fiscal year. And then two, how do we handle those that fall in between the cracks on the fiscal year stuff? So again, those on and anybody else that can, send us your comments. We would love to have them. We'd like to review those before we meet and take action on some new board rules.
Can I add some items in here, Mr. Janos?
Sure.
Mr. Serta?
Yes.
This is going to be a lengthy process in relation to amending the rule and basically, I hate to say it, but rebuilding continuing education. And at this point, we're preparing to have a virtual meeting with the continuing education providers. And we would like them, of course, to bring their ideas, and I'd like to take the opportunity to do training and also visit about the enormous amount of changes that have to be made to continuing education. And when I say that, there's changes that have to be made within our computer system to change from a 12-month random period, which the computer system has always had a hard time understanding, as well as the public has a hard time understanding that 12-month period that Mr. Janos referenced, and it will become a calendar year. And it'll actually start in January, and the calendar year will end December 31st. And everyone can easily understand that they'll need a continuing education class within that year. And there will be some changes that have to be addressed for those people that are going to fall in between the change from the 12-month period to the calendar year. And I would like to have a discussion with all the providers, and I'd like to send them out some information on doing that and kind of give them updates and information on what's going to occur, as well as update them with information they can give to their providers to give to the plumbers. So this is a large undertaking. It's something we've discussed doing. It's something that's sunset, that was going to get kind of built into some of the sunset stuff. And we said then we would like to do it. And of course, one of their surveys indicated that the plumbers, for the most part, were confused on when they should take continuing education. So what this is going to do in a nutshell is it's going to provide clarification once we get these rules written. It's going to help the computer system understand better what class a person had and should they be allowed to be renewed. And overall, it's going to help staff, because after August, we'll be able to make some changes for which we've already had a meeting with the computer folks about this very thing. It's also at the same time going to allow for, which is included in Chapter 365, it's going to allow for some changes to the renewal date of the endorsement. And one last thing, so everyone understands what this encompasses. There are no renewals that occur in December. However, there's a lot of people that don't renew until December, but they're late. And in January, the plumbers don't renew, but the inspectors renew. And along with this, one of the things that may occur, and we don't know for sure yet, but there's plumbers that also have inspector licenses, and this may well solve the problem too for those individuals to bring those two licenses together and have one renewal date. So there's a lot of dates and a lot of computer adjustments that have to be made, and we have to make the rules match to what we're able to do. And that's all I'm going to say, but that's it in a nutshell. It's a huge undertaking, something we wanted to do for a long time. And I hope I can get a lot of input from the providers and the public once we get this moving forward. And I also hope Mr. Jalnos or anyone else that wants to could maybe sit in on our webinar with the providers.
Yeah, definitely want to do that. I also just in closing want to mention that we did send out a questionnaire or a poll, and I just wanted to share one piece of it. This particular poll regarded continuing education and training courses and what your preferences would be. We had 1,613 respondents. So 51% liked the live in-person training. 11.9% liked the pen and paper correspondence course. 11.1% virtual instruction led via an online interactive environment. 13.7% liked the self-guided web-based training atmosphere, and then 195 or 12% gave us no response. But so everybody likes the live in person. I like the live in person, although I really enjoyed the virtual one also. But I think it's nice for other plumbers to get to see each other, things like that. So I look forward to the input and sitting in on the webinars. And if some of this stuff lists, then maybe we can actually have a meeting up in Austin with the providers to discuss this further.
Robbie, Ed Thompson, how soon are you trying to implement and get this started?
Well, we have to have something now just to cover what we're doing, you know, the way we're doing some stuff, because there's no rule on how we do it. So, you know, you take the game of golf. If there's not a rule, then it's a violation, you know, you get penalized. So we need to have something in there for these virtual classes.
So are you proposing something today for that, because it's already going on?
Right. So I'm proposing something to do, you know, hopefully by July, you know, middle to end of July, at least have one or a couple of statements or items that pertain to the virtual training.
Okay, are you going to wait on the public to get you some input back to include that, or you and Lisa going to come up with something by the end of next month to implement just to cover us on this virtual that we're already doing?
We got to do, you know, we have to do something soon. So I don't have to have the public comments yet because it's like we're like putting a Band-Aid on something. And then once we get the public comment, then we can clean that up and, you know, cancel out whatever we did agree on, or just amend what we agree on and move forward from there.
Okay, so we can look forward to having something within the next month or so to vote on.
Yeah, I'll be, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Mr. Dolnos. Just for clarification, you and Lisa are planning on proposing rules that will go through the public comment period after they're proposed?
Correct.
Is that what okay, that's the idea.
Yeah, correct. I'll plan a trip to Austin, you know, next week or the following week, and Lisa and I will sit down and kind of draw an outline of everything that's there and then see what we can compile into a rule. Once we have the rules, whether it's 1, 3, or 5, whatever, then it will go to the public comments stage. But the sooner the public can give us comments, the sooner we can incorporate what you guys want out there, because we would like to, you know, accommodate what the plumbers in Texas want, you know, really want to have, and give them a quality program. So that is going to be coming up, you know, relatively soon.
Mm-hmm. And I take it Vina asked that question because of the 30-day posting?
Correct. We have to do that. You know, we have to follow whatever rules that are there. We have to follow those rules. But we got to write something up first so we have something to present and post.
Okay.
If I may, this actually, if you can find a good side to the COVID situation, it came at an opportune time, so to speak, to just do an experiment to see how it all worked, which in turn will evolve into some new rules and allow us to incorporate some very much needed changes. And just so the public is clear, so I don't get a whole bunch of comments, but we can't do away with it. So, but I do want to get all the ideas, and hopefully we can get at a bare minimum, get the virtual portion fixed in the rule for July. And then all of the big fixes will come so that we can get into that full year period come January.
Okay.
Correct.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's good. Well, you know, having firsthand experience by taking that virtual course, I really did. I just tell you, it just blew me away. I felt that there was even more participation from everybody in this situation. Plus, you know, you could get up, go make a sandwich, go get a drink, come back, sit down, and the instructor was very cognizant of that fact. He saw you away from your chair. He was calling you out after a couple of minutes. So that was pretty good too. So that's it. We're going to try to make the best of the situation as we can. And that concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so since it is a public meeting, and we do have some people that we have in the auditorium, am I correct, Don? I'm not sure if there's anybody out there that would like to just, I'd like to go back to public comment and see if there's anybody that has any comment at this point, since we're already here, Robbie.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'm ready to write.
Okay. It'd be good if to, what do I do? You know, do I pause this item and go back to public comments, or can I just open up for public comments during this item?
As chairman, you have the prerogative to open it up for public comment. The public is not limited to this particular agenda item. However, if they have any input on discussion of possible amendments to Title 22, Part 17, Chapter 365, which concerns licensing and registration, they can discuss that, but they're limited to just that agenda item.
Yes, and I'd like to, Don, is everybody listening to me over there at the auditorium? Don?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
No one is raising their hands. Did you just want me to unmute them?
No. I just want to make sure that we give them an opportunity right now, since we are meeting. If there is any questions or comments.
I do have Mr. Bobby Duran. He would like to speak.
Okay, just one second. Now, I'd like to just make sure that we stick to the Texas Administrative Code, Title 22, Part 17, Chapter 365, having to do with the licensing and registration, please. So, Mr. Duran, go ahead. Mr. Duran?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
Okay, so we're talking about continuing education in the future. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the virtual will work for some people. The classroom works for others. We all know that. So the virtual I have no problem with, as long as it's regulated like it is right now with 15 people. You start getting over that group, you're going to find out you start losing control. But we do have control up to 15 people. It works quite well, in fact. Okay? But in comparison with the classroom, the touchy-feely stuff that we have here, there's no comparison. So the virtual, I have no problem with. I would like to continue it in the future. It'd be a select group anyway. And a lot of it's because of distance. Okay, and I think that Zoom has cleaned up their program quite a bit. We don't have near the problems with streaming like we used to have at the very beginning of this. And some of my instructors enjoy it, and then some of them prefer the classroom. So I think it's an option that we can continue with. If you want my opinion on the continuing education in the future, personally, I think if they sit here in an RMP class, or if they sit in a class that's for MedCast or something like that, then I think that should be continued, their continuing education for that year. They spend a lot of time in here. They'll spend a weekend here training on master plumbers and everybody else. And they get a lot more than they do in that continuing education class per se. So we go through the law, the rules, everything, the apprentices, everything like that. I think that should be included as part of their continuing ed. I also have some students here that might want to say something, if that's all right with the board.
I'd love to hear.
We just lost a quorum.
Okay.
Okay, there's Mr.
He's there.
Somebody walking in my office.
He just moved.
Yeah, Mr. Friedman just walked out.
So
There he is.
There he is.
We have Don here, if he would like to say anything.
Bobby, let me ask you one more question while I have you.
Go ahead.
What, going back to the classrooms, the CE classroom limitation of 45. What's your opinion on that?
I would stick with that. It works quite well. If you try to get over that number, I can tell you right now, it would get out of control. Some of us probably control it, but I would think a lot of them can't. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. Okay.
All right. Thanks for that comment. I appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Don, would you like to say anything to the board?
Yes, I would. I've attended every continuing ed class since it began back.
I'm sorry.
You can't hear you.
Yeah. Can I have your name again?
Yes, please.
He's coming up.
Yes, my name is Don Files. I have attended every one of the continuing ed classes since they began in the 80s. And I think the in-person is, you get a lot more information out of it. But I would support a virtual, especially for people that have to travel a long distance to do their continuing ed. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Daniel? This is perfect for RMP.
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel Brennan here. Going for RMP as well. I just want to kind of reiterate what Mr. Durant said, that you know, if classes like these counted towards CE for the year, it would encourage us to take to really kind of broaden our horizons, maybe take some of the multi-purpose residential sprinklers, things like that, to where if that counts towards CE, we're both learning more and away from our jobs. So that's all I had to add.
Okay.
Don, you okay? Dustin?
You know, another thought is on some of the endorsements, maybe incorporating some of that time, the 2-hour time that's needed, into the regular CE class. And even though there'll be people in there that don't have the endorsement, they get to learn something new.
This is great.
Dustin Wilson here. I just want to third that the endorsement classes, the RMP classes, the journeyman classes, there's a lot of required class time, and it would be great if that could be used towards your continuing education hours, and save some of us that are taking all the phone calls, running the business, a little bit of time in the class. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have right now that want to speak. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
Robbie?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and read something from Paula. I didn't get the last name from Paula.
Worthy.
Worthy. Okay. She says, I'm in agreement for the calendar adjustment. I agree with the option of virtual training, but agree that it should be an option and not eliminate the in-class. I would also like to know if it has been considered to move the CE class requirements to align with the code changes of every 2 years. That was on.
Definitely, again, this is all public comment. This is all stuff that we're going to, the committee's going to discuss. And like I said, if something's lifts, we might even have a committee meeting with public comment down the road here, so we can get this thing, worked out. But I like what Paula just said. I think it's those are good. Those are all good comments.
And everyone might want to bear in mind that the 6-hour requirement is in statute, but I'm really enjoying these comments, and hopefully Robbie and I can get together this next week in person and move forward. This is great.
This is Ben. I got something to say. The gentleman in Bobby's class that mentioned, getting credit for doing, the other courses and stuff. They do that in with the Texas Real Estate Commission. If a realtor has a class, maybe it's a mortgage class or whatever, they apply that time towards their CE for the year on a number of different topics. And so I think that would be great because you get more people involved. And if they want to learn, they're going to get the time. It's a win-win for everybody.
Oh, I agree with you. Since, you know, basically it's you and me that have to take these classes. You know, we were exempt at one time. I'm the idiot that got us back taking classes again. But anyway, that's good. We can have, we should be able to roll some of this in and save some valuable time, but also get some additional education out there.
Could I add something?
Yeah, sure.
And in this discussion, and of course in the training, and it's all incorporated, this might also be our opportunity to address the need for the in-classroom training for the apprentices. And part of our outreach program, which I'll talk about, that's one of our new strategies in a little bit, we can address the need for the training program for apprentices and possibly adjust that at that time too. So we've just got a lot of work we need to do, and above all, this is, again, if you've got to find a bright side in the COVID situation, it's that we got to do an experiment, so to speak, in order to apply some of the needs that we have for disaster recovery, as well as address the needs of the public and the plumbers. So it's where we're at, and we've just got work to do, and the end result's gonna be very good.
Well, it makes a good case for moving forward and the need for a board at this particular time.
It does. Well, we're going to move forward on it. You'll see some changes here.
Do we have Ms. Emily Conger? I believe she had some, I don't know if she wants to speak or maybe send a message or what have you.
Yes, sir. She did want to comment.
Okay.
Sorry. Yes, this is Emily Conger. Mary just wanted it to be known that we agree with Mr. Jalnos, and that that having 15 or even 30 would be good, maybe with another instructor, to keep it monitored, and then having a monitor to make sure that everybody is paying attention to the class and definitely being on top of that. But I think it's definitely something that would be good for a good option for the plumber. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so
you mean Rick Lloyd don't have anything to say? I don't believe.
Mr. Chairman, we also have Sarah Rayburn.
okay. Ms. Rayburn?
She's got to unmute.
Hi, this is Sarah. I just wanted to touch base on the live online classes. We've been holding our live online classes for the past few months, and we've collected a lot of feedback through surveys from that. Overall, the feedback has been pretty positive. Folks really like having the online option. They definitely still want an in-person option as well. But being able to offer the online option and in-person option and the correspondence option really has allowed us to serve a lot more folks than we might have been able to without the online option. So we want to keep doing that if possible. I think some of the good feedback that we've gotten, which was mentioned earlier, is a lot of folks felt more comfortable participating. There was more interaction in online classes, which we thought was interesting. And we just continued to try to refine our processes for that. And so I think keeping the online option would be a really great move moving forward.
All right, Sarah, thank you for that.
Thursday, please send Mr. Robbins some of those comments and that you received.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd be happy to send you all of the data that we've collected over the past few months.
Okay. Anything else?
Okay.
I think we're done.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Duran raised his hand again.
Okay. Mr. Duran, we'll just keep it to one more comment and then, so we can jump back and get back on the agenda, but go ahead.
After a few of the comments I just heard, I'd like to say one other thing. On the apprentices, when you were talking about them, and Lisa was talking about the apprentices, we all know, and all of the providers know this, that the apprentice for the journeyman has to do 2 continuing eds. They're taking one week, one the next. It's the same class. In lieu of that, we could also propose like a math and a law and rule class specifically as part of that 48 hours, if you don't mind. And the other thing is, if people are proposing 30 people in this virtual class with 2 instructors, just do 2 classes. That's what we do, and you got more better control. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don, I don't know if I'm supposed to read this or not, but we have Emily Conger on behalf of Mary. I guess she stated that we need clear rules moving forward to define. Second instructor really has a lot of bearing, and monitor is everything. So, okay, with that, thank you, Robbie. Item 7, we'll continue with continuing professional education committee work.
Sounds good.
Nice. I'm glad that we were able to have some comments.
Number 8, Mr. Chairman.
Robbie?
What's up next? Oh, the audit committee report? Is it?
Okay, so we're done with item 7 completely, Lisa?
Yeah, 7's done. I appreciate the comments, and now we move to 8.
Okay, so now we have item 8, and then we got Mr. Ed Thompson.
Mr. Chairman, the audit committee at this time has nothing to report.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Next, we got item 9, and that's the examination department report. Ms. Hill?
Oh, we've got lots to talk about.
Okay.
I'll try to consolidate. We've been updating our website as to when and how we're doing examinations, but just to clarify and just to provide some more direction on the website, you'll see the COVID information, and if you click on that, it says important update to plumbers, and that'll tell you when we started doing remote exams again. It'll also tell you, please don't depend upon any previous dates that you've had for an examination in the March and April time period. So I just want to reiterate that everyone should watch their email, watch their text, and please be patient. It's going to take some time to get the remaining people that were postponed in the previous months during the pandemic and get them caught back up. We were on a roll to have surpassed last year's number of examinations, and so this put a little bit of a roadblock. It's not stopping us. It was just a minor roadblock, and we'll get back around it, and we'll keep moving. And just to the remote examinations in Lubbock, in Dallas, and Fort Worth, and Houston. We've had some in Corpus in the Valley area. Those have gone really well. They will again go well. We just opened the exams back up in Lubbock, and that was successful. We had an area where we could social distance. Everyone wore masks. They were excited. It went really well. And on July 1st, we'll have some in Fort Worth. July 8th, we'll have them in Houston. On the 15th, we have a large group in San Antonio. And the 22nd, we're going to have a fairly large group in Dallas. Bear in mind, we have to consider the social distancing. We have to take in consideration the ability for each facility, each county, all the rules. It's no small undertaking to keep all of this together. But we're making it happen. And if I can, I want to go ahead and just, I'll reference the, let me reach over here and get it, the pass-fail rate for the second quarter for the examinations. You'll see that that's a colorized version in your board book. We'll also be sending that information out to the providers. We also did a couple of exams. We had a couple of volunteers, and we had to consider the fact that we certainly don't want to do away with the practical portion of the examination in any fashion. However, we did incorporate the water heaters into a visual application, and those will be part of the computer-based testing as we move forward. Whoever made mention earlier of the 18-wheeler and a trailer, that'd be great. I mentioned that a couple of years ago to have the practical exam that way, but we'll see. But everyone, please be patient. The information's on our website. We've regularly updated the website. We started giving exams again. They've been successful. I will tell you, it takes a lot longer to check people in the mornings. We have a little closed-in foyer there. We do a temperature check, mask, hand sand, and move you in. We've changed tables. They're more easily to clean, can be cleaned. And so it does take a little longer to check in each morning. Watch your email, watch your text. Please show up if you're scheduled to show up, and don't show up if you're not scheduled. We've made every attempt, even whenever we've had a few extras here or there, to try to get their examinations. And I don't think anyone should be confused at all about the fact that we've been given exams and what the process is. It's on our website. We'll be updating it again, and cross your fingers nothing changes and we don't get shut back down again. Any questions? I'd be happy to answer them. I do want to tell about a couple other things.
Lisa, on the breakdown that you have on the the exams given in the different cities, I guess Austin, Corp, Dallas, Fort Worth, Houston, and Lubbock, it seems like as far as the percent passing, it went up a couple of points on the total examinations from one fiscal year to date now. So hopefully it'll help out where people don't have to travel as far to take these exams, but the passing rate outside of the Austin for the medical gas, either the master or journeyman, is big. There's a big comparison in averages as far as who takes it in Austin, who takes it everywhere else. And I'm not sure if the testing is, or I have no idea what's happening, but as far as the medical gas journeyman, there's only a couple that passed. So maybe if you have a breakdown, and I don't know if it makes a difference or not, but just so that the public can know where everybody's at on these cities. The next one would be to add the Valley and Corpus Christi and possibly El Paso. Am I correct?
We've done El Paso for years with the written portion of the exam. And we may very well add a large group out in that area. However, most of them have been, we've been doing Lubbock and Midland areas, and we're happy to do any area. We've concentrated our exams by using the facilities where we can social distance and that are easy access. So, and we have discussed El Paso again. We have some coming up in Corpus too. We're going to try, and just to catch up these exams that were previously scheduled and then postponed, we're going to go ahead and do some in San Antonio. And I think the ones in San Antonio we're going to do on July 15th, so we may be able to clear a pretty big block there as well. It's all hands on board right now. There wasn't any wrong or right in this, and so we had to jump in and do everything that we could. We've actually had it doubled up, a med gas day on a Friday, and we're probably going to have a Saturday for a tradesman, it looks like.
I've got just one comment. It doesn't give the breakdown of what area they did not pass, but the testing that we offer right now for the journeyman, master, inspector, and tradesman, it's dumbed down as far as it can be dumbed down. And the pass rate on all of those is under 70%. So there's no, these plumbers that are coming in and taking these tests, they're not prepared. Because I can tell you this, if they're prepared, this is not a difficult test. I could see them scoring in the 90s on a test like this. But to have pass rates below 70 and not seeing anywhere where you really can make it any easier, because it's pretty darn easy already, is discouraging to me. And probably be something else that Lisa and I will discuss. Because we have to turn out plumbers and inspectors that know what they're doing. Otherwise, they become a life safety hazard. And that's another big part of our backlog, is that we have to re-examine 30%, over 35% actually of all people that take exams have to come back for something. And that's a big number.
We actually have 599 scheduled right now, and out of that 599, 493 of them are first timers. The remainder of that are return.
That's a good number, yeah. So
second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time, and one more than that.
Well, if we can get that pass rate up, we're gonna end up being back right on schedule and giving examinations, especially with all the changes that are being made.
And we made the suggestion on the website as well that during this postponement, it's a great time to take a few, maybe an extra day, do a little extra studying, and have a successful first time exam, because it takes everyone working together to get past this roadblock. I mean, they threw it up here. It's just what we have to deal with, and we're going to make it around it, and we'll be successful. And yeah, we need some first time successful exams.
Right.
Okay.
And just one other thing. Anyone that was previously scheduled in March that got postponed, they, for the most part, have all been done. April, we're about halfway through with, and May, we've begun. So by August, I want to be all caught up. I want to be caught up in July. We'll see.
On the third-party examinations, do you have something on it?
Yes, sir. We continue to move forward on that, and along with the computer change that I mentioned earlier, that too will involve some data transmittal and computer changes that nothing can happen until after August with our shared system that we share with the other agencies. So this put a little snag in things, but it moves forward. And actually, there again, you got to keep digging out the bright side of this. It's given us a chance to see how well some of our redesigned questions will work, how some of our graphics are going to work, because we were able to use them in pen and paper previously in the remote. Now we've incorporated some of those into some of the remotes right now, which will in turn will become part of the program on the computer-based testing. So we're moving forward, we're on schedule, and we're excited. It just, everything all came together at one time. So I still got the same number of staff, but we're working hard to move forward on it.
Lisa, on these third-party examinations, one of the third parties that sticks out, well, basically it takes a lot of the exams also. I took one with it. I forgot the name of it. Can you remind me of that one that I mentioned to you?
I think you took yours at Pearson View.
Pearson View.
PSI, one of those.
So Pearson View is basically throughout the whole state. Now, I just want to make sure that we continue to focus on having third-party examination like them, because they really, that type of third-party pretty in, and you better understand or know exactly what you're talking about. So that helps throughout the state to have companies like that can help. So with that, I'll leave it at that so that we can look at those opportunities for us to use for these examinations and basically be caught up.
Yeah, they actually have, there's probably 50 different locations whenever we get this all up and running where they'll be able to go.
Okay. All righty.
We had just to talk a minute on E. We actually had quite a few exams scheduled to give at some of the conferences for plumbing inspectors, and due to COVID, those have basically been canceled. I don't even want to use the word postponed, because the groups are not able to have their conferences this year. So it's unfortunate, but what we may end up doing for some of the inspector groups is just picking a Saturday and putting them all in at one time. We even discussed doing an evening if that would work. Now that there's some hotels available again, of course, then you roll into the fact of, are the cities going to let them travel? So, but we're going to work with the inspectors and the cities and those conference groups, and if we need to make some special times for them, we'll get them moved through here as well.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Lisa on the items discussed?
Those 493 people that are coming, be ready.
Great. So, Enforcement Department report, Mr. Davis.
I think you introduced me. I couldn't hear everything you were saying, but thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had discussed at the last board meeting, we went over first quarter and upcoming second quarter activities that were already scheduled for continuing for cross connection demonstrations and other activities that the field department and the enforcement department was going to participate in. However, some of those did get canceled along with, through January. We didn't have much in December, but January, February, those things kind of got put off. So those are still kind of pending. So I'll have a better report for you, hopefully by the next board meeting, that maybe if we pick those back up again. It's not looking real good as far as those types of activities right now. Just to mention, we were talking about CE classes. Our field investigators have monitored 4 virtual classes and submitted reports on those. Those really worked out well. It does give a really good opportunity for a field investigator to kind of be up in the corner and available if there's any questions that come up. Like I said, that really does work out well. So, and I wouldn't mind putting some input in those virtual CE classes when that does come up for discussion. As far as our field activity report, these activities, of course, are going to come up from December through February that you're going to be looking over. So we were still out in the field, and we were starting to taper off at the end of February and then completely shut down in March. So, and we do have the comparisons in parentheses down below, so you can see that political subdivisions contacted were still 98. Individuals contacted 1,101. Unlicensed contacted 56. Compliance checks, we still did 2,000 during that quarter. License and registered persons found 226. Potential violations found 34. Investigations conducted 179, and then CE classes monitored during that period was 2. If you got any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer them.
This Ben,
Yes.
the general public might look at the contacts with unlicensed or unregistered persons at 56 versus the other numbers that are that we contact that are licensed. Is there any rhyme or reason why that number's lower, or are we just not able to find those guys, or?
I think it's just really it's just about the numbers that some of it has to do with contact, maybe regarding a complaint as well. So we might end up contacting more licensees, have it, whether it be, of course, you have journeymen, masters, tradesmen, and inspectors versus one criteria out there of apprentices. So, or unlicensed people. Again, well, I'm sorry, you're talking about the totally unregistered, correct?
The unlicensed and or unregistered persons that are contacted. I mean, those you can't. I mean, my point is that you don't know where these people are unless they're reported to you from the public.
Right, and those are going to be, like say, possibly on-site visits. Now, again, these other licensees that are contacted could be via phone, could be a lot of different. I mean, they could be even contacting us. We're not going to have too many unlicensed people wanting to contact us. So that's,
exactly. But just for the benefit of the public, that's in this meeting, or we'll watch it at a later date. We're doing everything we can to find the unlicensed or unregistered, but it's impossible because of the workload with the current complaints and compliance checks and stuff that are already ongoing. We need more help from the public that can give us this information, which I think we're seeing a lot of it now, more and more as time goes on. But the public also needs to know at the same time that we're not, going out and, besides a sting operation, which nobody's ever going to know when that's going to happen anyway. It's almost impossible to catch all of those guys, even though the number is much larger than anybody would like it to be. We're doing everything we can from an enforcement standpoint to keep everything above board in the trade and with the license.
And you are exactly right. There have been more and more people that are sending me direct emails regarding those vehicles that are not marked properly, whether they see someone out there that they feel. Now some of it we just don't have enough evidence to act on, but we do put back the information we can't act on as a future possible sting operation. So it's kind of disheartening sometimes when you don't see action. You make a phone call or send an email, and a week later you say, well, they didn't do anything about it. Well, we have seen it could be months or even we're kind of we have to be patient, and sometimes as far as penalties go, we may not see resolution until some years later when someone maybe hides for a while and then they try to come back at a different time. So again, patience is what we have to be. We have to have patience in these areas, but everything that comes in, we look at if we can act on it. We send it directly out to a field investigator, and they check into it. And I think a lot of the especially licensees that are providing me with information will tell you that they do see that there has been activity on a lot of occasions. But when there's not, it's just because we've kind of maybe hit a roadblock at the time, and we haven't given up on it.
Yeah, I just wanted to recognize you for all of the work that you guys do, and at the same time remind the public that it's a process, and it may take longer than they would like it to take, but they need to feel confident in our group that everything is being done to the benefit and the safety of the state of Texas and the citizens from this standpoint. So thanks.
Any other questions? Or?
Any other questions for Mr. Davis? All righty, thank you, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
For what you do. Now we go to item 11. That's financial department reports. Ms. Myra Samaripa.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The quarterly financial statements are on tab 17. Page 1 has 2 schedules. The first schedule shows the original fiscal year 2020 appropriation for the board, plus any transfers and additional revenue we have received and what the board has spent so far in each strategy for fiscal year 2020. The second schedule shows agency expenditures through the second quarter of fiscal year 2020. Theoretically, we should have spent about 50%, and we're only at 43.4%. On page 2, the board is still having a fairly good year given the pandemic. Our revenues really haven't slowed down much so far, and hopefully that won't change. Overall, our revenue having increased by 5.9% as compared to the same time period during fiscal year 2019. On page 3, the table shows the estimated number of licenses and registration fees received through the second quarter of fiscal year 2020. It also shows the number of examination fees received as compared to fiscal year 2019. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. We'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Were these expected revenues that we're looking at, or is it on the expenditure side? Of course, we didn't know exactly what this was going to cause, but the traveling and the training and fuels and so on and so forth. But on the revenue side, it seems like we're doing very good.
Yes.
Did I hear somebody say? Okay. Anybody have questions for staff? Hearing none, so then we'll go to item 12, and that's the budget reduction plan response. Ms. Lisa?
Yes, sir. Well, of course, I think I was muted a while ago, but I was going to say we really haven't had much downturn as far as revenues and fees go, but we, like other agencies, expected to have a request to do a budget reduction. And the state as a whole, of course, everyone's going to have to pull together and tighten their belt. And we sat down, Myra, Richard, and I, we sat down and did some calculations. And as I've discussed with you a little bit, what we were in for. But when it all came down to it, we know that we can reduce our board travel if we continue to have these virtual meetings. we know that a reduction in travel for investigators is going to occur. And of course, there's already been savings there. And fuel costs have been down, and you'll have less fuel costs. One of the things we found that we could trim quite a bit on is we had previously changed to renewals on postcards, which was a savings from the old paper and envelope and stamp. So that was a little bit of a savings. And now we're going to go even further and begin to do renewal reminders via email. And that's going to save a lot of paper, a lot of stamps. So it's a good portion of our reduction. But all in all, we had to initially come up with $287,340 for a reduction. However, and we got our request back to the governor, or we got our response and our plan back to the governor's office in a timely manner. And we also had a question about some .gov fees, and we had a question about some of the pass-through fees that we pay to the Health Professions Council as well. And we spoke with our analyst over at the Legislative Budget Board, and we were able to recover that. So our $287,340 is now down to $257,212 that we're going to give back. And I think there's a variable. Richard found a little bit of a variable there. Are we still pinned on that $257,212, Richard?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, with all of those items I just mentioned, and a little bit of trimming here and a little bit of trimming there, and of course the worst trim, and we put it as our least favorite thing to do. Those are in priority, that list that I provided you. The worst trim will be that we'll delay hiring one of our last field investigator position, but we were able for this year and next, for the biennium, come up with the $257,212. And we'll pinch pennies, and we're tightening our belt just like everybody's done, and we'll do the best that we can, and we'll move forward. We actually had a temporary position too that we will trim back, and we hate to do that because it was a good thing for customer service, but we'll just rearrange and move forward.
Okay.
We go through it, over it, or around it.
Thank you, Lisa, for that. Basically, putting together that budget and turn into the governor's office. I don't know if the board has any questions regarding the information provided by Ms. Hill.
If I can, I'll step right on into our legislative appropriations request too, sir.
Let's do that. And with that, I'd like to also thank Ms. Amarico for the presentation. I'm sorry, Ms. Mara, this is different. So with that, we'll go
you're welcome. Thank you.
We'll go to 13, and that's the legislative appropriation request.
We had to do a little bit of soul searching on this, and we still have some time to prepare this request. But if anyone has any direction, I would certainly appreciate it at this moment. I don't think any agency is going to go before the legislature and ask for any large quantities of money. I don't believe there's going to be any large quantities of money to get, but we're accustomed to operating very conservatively, and we've sat down and made some plans, and we think that the one thing we want to do is keep our new strategy that we have right now. We want to keep that in place, and we want to continue to move forward on that. However, we do know that there's going to be some items that we'll need, and so come legislative session, our idea, so to speak, is to ask for a couple of items that we have listed there. And I'm open to suggestions on anybody's thoughts, but we came up with one of the things that's going to be important to us next session would be to get some replacement vehicles. And by the time we get to through session and were to get that money, I mean, your cars are going to be pretty old. And Steve, I think he's got them tied together with some baling wire right now, but so that's one thing that might be important. And above all these employees here have worked really hard through this COVID. They work hard on a regular basis. And so I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't ask for possibly some compensation for our employees as well. We have some information technology items that we're pending another conversation with health profession councils on. We want to make sure that we have some funds to help the group as a whole possibly move towards a better, more mobile experience. So we don't want to ask for a lot, but we feel like there's some things we need. We may not be able to get anything, but we certainly want to. If you don't ask, you won't get anything.
Yes, it's going to be a tough year, and it's going to be a different session too. Anybody have questions for Lisa? Hearing none, we'll go to item 14. And item 14, Executive Director's Report. Go ahead, Ms. Nixon.
Well, I'll try to sum up what I haven't already told you so far and answer any questions that I can. Staff's been busy. We still have some job postings out there, although we are going to hold the one I just mentioned earlier, which is a field investigator position. I have two attorneys that I'm about to interview, and we would really need to fill that position. Staff's been very busy. We've put together some disaster recovery items, some pandemic procedures. We've continued to help people that come to our front door, although it's been done in a little different fashion. We have the glass door between the public and us at this time. But I want to say that during the month of May, last year we helped 225 walk-up people. This year we had about 160. So wasn't a lot of difference there. March was a little different. Last year, we had 294 walk-up people that we helped. This year, we had 183. So staff stays very busy. We've continued to have our receptionist work for the most part, and we'll begin some reintroduction of a couple of other staff members back into the Austin office next week. However, most of our people are able to work from home, of course, not the examiners. We also, if the virus allows, I don't know how else to phrase it, we'll probably add in a few more people into our examination groups beginning next week, as well as staff. We'll see how things go. The numbers aren't looking so good right now. We want to be cautious, conservative. We want the public to remain safe. We need staff to remain safe. And we're doing everything we can. So fingerprint program, we've done a couple of thousand fingerprint reviews. Everybody's been really good about getting their fingerprints done for the tradesman, which is by rule. End of the year, we'll also be looking at modification on the rule to bring the apprentices into the fold of getting the fingerprints. However, a lot of plumbing companies, and thank you plumbing companies, thank you responsible master plumbers, have went ahead and gotten their apprentices fingerprints, and they're up and ready to go. So they'll just move right on through their next license levels, and unless they have the unfortunate consequence of receiving any other kind of criminal conviction, they'll just move right on through, and it'll be a great thing. So we've gotten faster at processing them, and everybody's just jumped right in and done it. And we'll actually, we're kind of ahead of the game on that, and I'm really happy about how that's done.
So it's not on the agenda, but having to do with the implementation of the fingerprint.
Yeah, all the tradesmen will go a full circle of tradesmen requirement come December 31st. We started January 1. And so we will have come full circle on the tradesman fingerprints.
Okay, but
been very successful.
Okay, and that was my next question: is that has it done what it's supposed to do as far as the intention? And I know it's not in the agenda, Vina, but it just has to do with the implementation of the fingerprint program. So, so hopefully we have no surprises and just basically continue as is, right?
Yeah, it's worked well. The process works well. It does slow things down just a little bit, but everybody's looked at, and if we go ahead and bring the apprentices in, then once you get an apprentice done, it's going to be a big hurdle. I mean, those are some really large numbers of prints and applications to handle. But the beauty of it is once you get the apprentices done, then as they move through the different license steps, there'll be no need for them to ever do that again, unless they had some type of conviction, of course.
Thank you.
Lisa, before you go on, Rick Lloyd was saying something when he spoke earlier about some the individual wasn't able to take tests or something. Can you elaborate on that?
I think he was mentioning that maybe they hadn't had an opportunity to look at the website or something, or they didn't know when they were going to be rescheduled.
Yes.
And I kind of covered that under the, let me see, under the pending plumber exams and how many we had to do. And March is done, and April's got about halfway to get caught up. May has a few days remaining for those postponed people. The main thing is everyone needs to carefully watch their email, carefully watch their text, and calling to ask when your exam date is certainly not the fastest way to get your exam date. We have a list of everybody that was postponed, and we're adding them back in as we go. I think that's what he was talking about, that he had maybe some groups that needed to be done. We've also taken some groups, and we can do some more. If Rick, if you're out there, if you have a group you want to do, let me know.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we addressed that and got the information out that they needed. So which is the best way for them to do email or text?
Email is what they need to watch their email, and on their email, they will get a new scheduled date. If they look inside their accounts right now, just to be clear, any person that has an online account, and you should get an online account if you don't have one, if you look under additional information, you will see the scheduled date for your examination. And if it still shows your old date, then you'll know that you haven't gotten back in yet, but you will get it. We can't put you in until we have room to put you in.
Okay.
And everybody cross your fingers that we can continue to put in as many as we're doing right now.
Okay. Do we have the capability with the new computer system we done to send some kind of alert to the individual, via text or something like that? Can we add something like that to the system at some point?
It's actually part of their account.
Okay.
So you can look in your account and see the day that you're scheduled for the exam.
Okay.
And it's not perfect system, but and there again, if anybody's got a group like Rick or whomever, or 4 or 5 people that want to come together, we had one company, I think, that had 9. And so we put all 9 of them on one day, because obviously they'd been around each other for the last couple of months, and they all wore masks, and they got a van and drove down here together. And so we did them as a group.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking some of the things that were changes that we're making and trying to do. If there was a way to system, since we're spending all this money on this system, there was a way that we could, send alerts and renewals and stuff like that in another. Since now everybody's communicating virtual, and so.
Renewals are going to go to email.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ed, can I say something?
Sure.
Yeah, this is all set up, Ed. I know you're not in the system and see how, the renewals come in and the auto-generated emails happen. But if you have an account on the board system, you're in, and everything's going to come to you at the appropriate time.
Okay.
So the apprentice is responsible for that, not necessarily the leader of the group of apprentices, for example, but every individual who's registered should get an account online, and that way they're in tuned. And if they have a question, they can go and look in these tabs and see that it's updated. And it's updated regularly, if not real time at this point. So if the group lead like Rick wants to have all of these guys come together, then just tell them to get online and do their own account, and then email somebody at the board if they still have questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you have a group, I will ask if you'll just email me. It's easy to get to me, Lisa.Hill just like the website. If you have a group, but put the names together, and we will do our best to get them in like that. Sometimes that does work better, especially right now, because if they're coming from one locale and one shop, it seems to work quite well.
Well, it clears it up,
I
because
would think so.
like I said, we only have Robbie and Ben that's actually in the system and has to go through and take these things and keep their certifications up. So it helps for the rest of us to know that they're pleased with the system, and that the individuals have to take the initiative on their end. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a system problem or anything like that was going on.
It's not perfect, but we keep building it as we can afford to. And we actually, this year, and I'll kind of jump down one or two items here, but our customer service survey, we sent that out to over 14,000 individuals. And that was all electronic this year as well.
Right.
On another program, but it was all electronic.
Right.
So,
We just have to address these things, since they're wanting us to cut money and reduce money and do a whole lot of different things. We just need to make sure there's things we can do to our system to continue making it better, and putting it in the position for some of the things that we may have to do in the future with technology. We need to make sure we keep moving that, because it took a long time, because when I come on the board, we was in the dinosaur era. So so I like to see that continue, moving in the right direction. Thank you.
I think we're electronically, we're ahead of a lot of other agencies, to be perfectly honest with you. It's not perfect though. And
we want to be the best.
It's getting there.
We got Stanley there. I don't know, Stanley, you got a couple minutes to help us out with something?
Well, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the fingerprint program, Mr. Chairman. Okay. And when it came up here several months ago, I thought, well, I would get in front of the curve. And I went down and had my fingerprints done so I could get them into the board. So if y'all decided you were going to get over on the masters, I wouldn't be delayed. Well, I went down and had my fingerprints taken, spent a half a day there. Next morning, I got a call and they said, your fingerprints didn't take. You'll have to come take them again. I said, well, we knew that they didn't take while I was there. And my fingerprints have worn off. And I said, well, what makes you think we're going to get a better results if I go down there? And she said, it's not that you're going to get a better results. She said, we send them to the FBI, and the FBI has rejected your prints. And the protocol is they have to reject them 3 times before you're excluded from the program. Well, I'd like to see y'all exclude us from the program if we flunk the fingerprint test 1 time. And I can sit here and look at my fingerprints and all I got is smooth ends on my fingers for some reason. And so they're about like my body. They're about worn out. And if you could see your way clear if somebody flunks the test or put a certain age on it that they don't have to take the test, it would probably be a help to all of us. And commenting on your budget request again, just remember that when we're asking for money, we're not asking the state for money. You're asking all of your licensees for money and asking the state to reappropriate it so you can spend it for the benefit of the board, which is what we pay for. So let me just say that I'm all in favor of getting enough money to run that board and getting us out of trouble with the legislature by getting enough people over there. And I'm not in favor of them hauling our money off and putting it in the state treasury when we don't get anything to say about it. Anyway, if you take care of me on the fingerprints, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Miss Stanley, I was going to make a comment on your fingerprint, but Miss Vina would probably take a ruler to me, so I'm going to decline the comment till I see you first.
I'd be interested to hear what you've got to say, Ed. It's always interesting.
Okay. Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you. I missed it.
Okay, so what else do we have? The update. What else do we have, Lisa? The health update professional?
And I am aware of Stanley's fingerprints, and we have one other individual that actually has smooth fingertips now that we were unable to get their prints from, and we've addressed those as well. The other item is our customer service comments, and we have posted those out on the website. And I want to thank all the plumbers. Out of the 14,000 that we sent out, we had a really good response. We also sent out an apprentice survey trying to get an idea how many people might be interested in taking the exam, which I'd say there's 300 or 400 out there that'll definitely be ready. Some told us they started their training, some haven't taken their training. We asked questions, like I said earlier, about what they liked on continuing ed. We did a lot of electronic type situations to get our information together. We also got some comments that some of them I won't read on the publicly, but some of them had some constructive criticisms, and you win some, you lose some. But something that came up out of our customer service survey is that the apprentices are not real clear on what their path is to becoming a licensed plumber. So what we want to do is put together a better step-by-step training or step-by-step guide, and then we'll address it with what I mentioned earlier, which is making sure that they have some good classroom training. So master plumbers, get those apprentices and give them some direction. And hopefully one of the things, which I'm going to roll into this and try to get done, is, we were granted the money to do our development and outreach and consumer education program. We've had a little difficulty hiring anybody at the moment, and we can't keep using the field staff, of course, to do that outreach. But when the atmosphere allows, then we'll be back out, and hopefully we can maybe do some group meetings in different areas around the state and provide some guidance in person to some of the plumbers apprentices, in addition to maybe getting back out and doing some live meetings through some continuing ed courses, that sort of thing. Otherwise, we'll do some outreach here, and we'll do some webinars if that's what we've got to do. as I mentioned earlier, we're having some meetings with Health Professions Council. And we've also ran some numbers, and I put those in your book. And just so everyone will know, currently there is approximately 45,326 apprentices out there. And some of them have not renewed lately, so be sure and get on there and renew. There's 1,536 inspectors. Majority of them are current. There's some that have dropped the inspector and not renewed it for whatever reason. I think some of them have gone back, jumped the fence back over and went back out in the trade. But currently, just for your information, there's 7,733 RMPs, which tells you there's approximately that many plumbing companies going right now. And there are just about, 4,124 people that have med gas endorsements, and that's a grand thing. Journeyman plumbers overall, we've got 21,121. And on that, my final note would be that of those 21,121 journeyman plumbers, we've worked really hard the end of February, March, April, and May to put temporary disaster markers in order to push some of the renewals forward so that we didn't have to just do away with continuing education. And it looks like that we're going to have to make some modifications for probably June, July, and August as it goes. And we'll send out those to the providers on how to do that. But above all, if we've got some plumbers out there, y'all been doing great. Reach out to your providers. We'll work with you. We'll try to get you renewed and you still get your continuing education. And we appreciate everybody's help through all of this, which is the providers, the plumbers, the patience that everybody has shown. And we've got some good things coming. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. With that, we'll jump to item 15, and that's future board meeting dates.
That's a good one.
Excuse me?
I said, that's a good one.
Okay. So that's today's date of June 18th. Next meeting would be July 13th, 2020, as Lisa had stated earlier. We really need that meeting. And then, of course, the next meeting, we would jump to the new fiscal year, which would be October 12th, 2020. Any other consideration that we have?
Mr. Serta?
Yes.
We will have some rules that we'll be ready to adopt in the July meeting.
Okay.
And that are out on the public register right now, on the Texas Register.
Well, one of the items that I'd be very interested to see, Lisa, by the July meeting would be the number of tests taken, right? So that would be something for us to just to make sure that we're reviewing.
Yeah, the next quarter will really show where the pandemic hurt us.
Okay. Thank you. And then we'll jump to item 16, issues for consideration at next board meeting. I think we discussed them, unless anybody else has anything else that you'd like to bring up.
This is Ben. Maybe for the next meeting, I don't know if we're doing any sort of exit surveys with the students that are taking virtual classes, whether it's continuing ed or it's a prep class or whatever. I think that survey might be interesting to create some metrics on across the providers.
Okay. Lisa?
I believe that that's one of the things that we're going to discuss whenever we set up our website or our webinar meeting with the providers, because I'm curious, as you know, they may have found some things that work better, or maybe the attendees had some comments in their surveys as well. Of course, they're supposed to be keeping surveys on all of their classes, so that may be interesting.
Right. Well, I see as, if we continue to have to take a virtual approach, you know, we as a board are ready to go with content that can either be disseminated or people can log in directly to us. And then the feedback on that, because there's going to be a lot of people that don't care, but there's going to be a lot of people that think it's great.
That do. Yeah, I
So,
agree.
Yeah.
And just to, as a reminder to everyone, if you know someone that did not get an opportunity to watch the board meeting now, be sure and tell them that they can go back to the admin monitor site, and go down to the bottom of the page and click on TSBPE, and they, at their leisure and when they're comfortable, or this evening or tomorrow, they can go back and see the board meeting again. So, and everybody pat yourself on your back. I think it went really well.
Well, I'd like to just mention what Emily, I think, Conger, it was under Mary Conger. She said, very professional meeting, Lisa. Board members and TSBP staff. Sound was great, and flow with the platform was really nice. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
And then we got Mr. Rick Lord that says, Robbie, do you plan on having your provider meeting before the next board meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
No, Chairman, I'd just like to. Oh.
I'm sorry.
I'd just like to add something, Chairman. Lisa, you know, this is all working really great. We've all learned how to use this stuff by force, and it's worked out, and it's worked out really well for the business side and for this side. Maybe one of the savings we could realize in our next LAR is some of the efficiencies created by, you know, hopefully us being allowed to continue some of these measures moving forward as standard practice. You know, I've got people that even like this better than normal meetings, you know, and it saves a lot of folks money. So just things to think about.
It's definitely going to be a money saver.
And hire more folks to inspect and test.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony. Any other considerations for next board meeting? Okay.
I would just want to thank Myra and Mr. Davis for their report, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, that was nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you.
Good reports.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you.
It flowed well. It's kind of nerve-wracking to do something like this, and as far as the Zoom meeting, but it was different. It was good. It was fast. And like David said, it flowed good. I think people are going to like it. The number of participants that were, what do you call it, Don? Auditorium, were basically the same type of, or same number of participants that we have as far as for public comments. I think just the scary part is in the middle of the meeting to open it up to public comment on any item, and it might go crazy, but I think we did well with those items. So I don't see a difference as far as the number of participants as far as the public, and it's a good thing because it says that people are paying attention to what we're doing.
We have Vina to keep us straight.
Vina, stay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
It looks like we had a total of 25 participants with 10 attendees from outside of our group. So if we could double that number the next go round, we'd be batting 100%.
So how many participants do we have, Don?
25.
Nice. That was total in and out?
Mm-hmm. We had some nice comments about how smooth the meeting was.
Very good. Very good. Well, the next item is 17, and I believe everybody's ready to go and follow up with that, unless you guys have motions. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion.
And I second.
Okay, so I got a motion and a second. All those in favor, well, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those against, and you sign off as far as when motion carries, please. So all those against, motion carries unanimously. So thank you very much, guys. Have a great.
Thank you. Thanks to all the participants too.
Everybody stay safe.
Stay safe.
Likewise.
Thank you.